Uh, Dear students, I am Raghunath, Associate Professor, Government Associate College and PG Center, Chintamani. Today, I am going to give a small talk on Session 3. This session belongs to Bangalore North University, first BSc, first semester, Unit 1. Topic name is Analytical Chemistry and Session 3. The syllabus of the topic is General Rules for Performing Quantitative Analysis. That is quantitative analysis, determinations, including volumetric and gravimetric. The next topic of today's lecture is safety in chemical laboratories. Now, today's I gave the topic. Now, what are the general rules for performing quantitative analysis? Now, what is the meaning of quantitative analysis? This is very important. Now, quantitative analysis means we have some natural solutions or solutions in which a lot of solute is dissolved or some quantity of solute is dissolved. Now the question is, how much quantity is dissolved in the solution is determined. Such analyses are called quantitative analysis. Under quantitative analysis, we have two types of analysis. One is volumetric, another one is gravimetric. And we have a qualitative analysis also. The qualitative analysis is just identification of the compound. That is not doing here. Now I am concentrating on only quantitative analysis. Under quantitative analysis, the number one is volumetric analysis. Second one is gravimetric analysis. Now, first of all, what are the rules we are using to do volumetric analysis? See, in volumetric analysis, what we are doing is we will take a solution in which we have a solute, or it is called we can call it as analyte. Analyte is nothing but solution whose quantity is to be determined. In quantitative analysis means the determination of quantity of solute in the solutions, knowing of chemical or substances present in the solutions. Sample, we are following a particular procedure. By following procedure, we can analyze this amount of solute present in the solutions. Now, to do volumetric analysis, by name itself is telling, we are taking different values of unknown solution by using standard solutions. Here, in volumetric analysis, we will take, we have two types of solutions. One is analyte solution, that is whose solute should be determined. Another one is we are declaring standard solution. Now, what is standard solution? Solution whose concentration is exactly known. Now, it is very easy to prepare a standard solution. To which chemical you are going to be used to prepare the standard solution, let us take the molecular weight and find out the equivalent weight. From the equivalent weight, how much solute we have to take, that can be calculated, and a known quantity of solute is taken, transferred into 250 ml volumetric flask. Up to the mark, you just add the deionized water and shake well, you will get a uniform concentration. By knowing the weight of the solute and its equivalent weight, we can find out the normality. The normality of solution, what we are getting is exact normality. Now, solution whose concentration we have calculated and we have known in the laboratory are called standard solutions. Now these standard solutions are used to determine what is the concentration of solution whose normality to be determined. For that, what we are doing is we are performing a titration. Titration is a process in which the standard solution is taken in a burette and unknown solution is taken in a volumetric flask. By using indicator and by adding of the standard solution from burette and by adding of the solution from burette to the conical flask, and before preparing standard solutions, we should be assured that both the chemicals should react and a complete reaction should be taken place between the unknown solution and the standard solution. For example, standard solution, let us take potassium hydrogen phthalate, unknown solution may be NaOH. Now NaOH can be standardized by using potassium hydrogen phthalate. Here we are performing titration in which we have a burette and we are using conical flask. From burette we are adding solution, we are also putting indicator. At particular equivalence point, that is the end point of the titration, indicator changes its color. From this, we can say that the reaction is completed. Now note down the volume of burette reading, that is the volume of one solution. Let us put value of burette reading, and volume of conical flask which we have taken is generally 25 cm cube. Now normality of standard solution, we have some value, and now we have to find out the normality of unknown. Normality of unknown is equal to normality of standard into volume of standard divided by volume of unknown, which is the burette reading. From this, we will get the normality of solution whose concentration has to be determined. Concentration is determined in terms of normality. This is one way in which quantitative analysis is done by using a method called volumetric analysis. At the same time, we have a gravimetric analysis. In the gravimetric analysis, the method is in a different manner. In gravimetric analysis, we will take the solution whose concentration to be determined. To that, we are adding a specific reagent, suitable reagent. See that suitable reagent is also called a precipitating reagent. If you add this precipitating reagent to the solution, or it is called analyte, then reaction takes place and you will get the precipitate. After completion of the precipitation, finally you have to test by adding 1 or 2 drops of the unknown solution and see that it should not prepare any precipitate. Then the next step is just you filter the precipitate and you can drain it or you can ignite it, and by taking that mass of the precipitate and the stoichiometry, we can calculate how much constituent particle, how much constituent component is present in the given solute. That means in gravimetry we are using precipitates or residues which are heated, and by weighing we will get what is the weight of that particular compound. From that particular compound, we can say what is the component present in the given sample solution, or we can call it an unknown solution, or like that. Gravimetry is also a quantitative analysis. In gravimetry, I can give a simple example. Let us we have a solution containing nickel 2+ ion. To this we are adding a dimethyl glyoxide. This dimethyl glyoxide reacts with nickel and you will get a scarlet red precipitate. Now this precipitate we can use the centered glass crucible. For filtration, you will get the entire precipitate is laying on the outer surface of the ceramic crucible. Before weighing and after weighing, you will get the weight of nickel DMG. From this weight and by knowing the molecular formula, how much nickel is present, that can be determined. This is the basic principle of gravimetric analysis. Now, the next one is, we have some important steps involved in the both the vanillometric as well as gravimetric analysis. Just these are all the techniques we are using here. Under that, sample of unknown should be represent the mass of the material. First point is the sample should represent the mass of the material going to be analyzed. Number one, the sample should have the constituent particles of the material which is going to be studied, and we have to select a reagent or solution in which it should react with the sample constituent particles. That is also very important. The sample should be clear and it should be a constituent is a specific and selective measure of the separation of the pre-treatment of the sample meanwhile. The third one is what we are getting is the obtained results must be understandable and significant. Now here we are performing this experiment and we will get the results. The results, it can be interpreted and understood how much solute is present in the given solution. This idea, these rules is applicable to both gravimetry and vanillometry also. Now in case of gravimetric analysis, first we have to identify the problem, then select a method to analyze either gravimetry or vanillometry. The third one is process the sample, that is obtaining representative samples. Next one is preparing a laboratory sample. That means we will get a bulk material. From the material we are collecting the sample, define the replicate the sample, and dissolving the sample is also very important. Now these are all belongs to both the gravimetric analysis as well as vanillometric analysis. I am explaining quantitative analysis under these two. Any interferences are there, you have to eliminate those also. Measure the amount of analyte, how much unknown substance is present in the prepared solution from the sample, calculating the concentration of the desired content, at the same time estimate the reliability of data, and finally a conclusion and understanding of the data. Here quantitative analysis means we have only two techniques. One is vanillometric, another one is gravimetric. We have a systematic procedure is also available. By following different steps and systematic procedure, we can perform both gravimetry and vanillometry. Finally, we can find the how much quantity of solute or solid present in the given solutions. That is the main idea of this volumetric analysis. Now the next point is safety in the chemical laboratories. These are very important. Now this may be interfere or this may be similar to the first session which I have given, good practices. But here safety measurements are very, very important. If you are doing experiment in the lab, you must be very careful, and you must have awareness what are the things are present in the lab and everything. Now the first point is, now I will give you point by point. Now the first point is, before you start the work in laboratory, know the location and use of the fountain or fire blanket, shovel and fire extinguisher. That means, for example, the entire lab in which the iron pipes are fixed, in which they have a fountain type arrangement. If something goes wrong or any fire accident happens, immediately the entire lab, the water is sprinkled on the tables or chemicals or any burning materials. And with what is that, fire extinguisher, where is the place it is there, and fire blanket, a block colored thick cloth, and if any fire is there, we are putting on the fire. See that the fire is stopped. Next, a student should wear the goggles to protect the eye at all the times. That is also very important. You will be wearing the reading glasses in the laboratory to avoid eye damage by any chemical or solutions or fumes. Next, avoid contact between chemicals or liquids which are harmful to the skin. Some chemicals are very harmful to the skin, and you should be very important, and you should not develop any contact, or you have to avoid it. That is also one of the safety measures. Now we have to think about never perform an unauthorized experiments. In the chemical laboratories, you should not do any unauthorized experiments. That means you are going to the lab and taking the chemicals, mixing up the chemicals as you like. That is not possible. You should not do, and it may give some untoward accidents, or it may produce fire also. That's why you should be very careful. Don't walk alone in the laboratories. That means you should not be alone, and always be someone with you in a earshot. If you make some sound, someone should listen, and you should come and you should give some help to you. That's why you should not do anything alonely in the lab. That is also one of the safety measurements. Next, don't bring the food and beverages in the laboratory. Don't eat anything in the lab, or don't drink anything in the lab. There may be a smell contamination, or there may be chemical contamination that can give bad things to your health. Never drink from the laboratory glasswares. We have beakers and that one and this one. Don't use glass beakers in the lab for a drinking purpose. By mistake, if the beaker was not cleaned, it may have some chemical. Such a beaker, if you use drinking purpose, the chemical will also, you may drink, and that causes some problem. Next point is don't smoke in the lab. Don't smoke in the laboratory. It's not good. That causes another problem. Always use a rubber ball to draw the liquids in the pipette. See, we have a pipette. Generally, we will put the pipette in the mouth and we will suck the solution into the pipette. Certain times the solution enter into the mouth. To avoid such problem, you can take a rubber bulb by putting the top end of the pipette, just pressing the bulb and putting the bottom of the pipette into the solution and slightly releasing the bulb, the solution enter into the pipette. You have to use pipettes by using the rubber only, but not through mouth. Wear shoes and hairnet for head and apron for the protection of the body. You have to wear these shoes when you are in the lab. Without shoes or chappals, you should not enter. There may be a small glass pieces that can damage the barefoot, and you have to wear the shoe followed by hairnet. You have more hairs, and you have to wear the hairnet followed by an apron, a white coat we are using, and to protect the body. If something is spill out and it can fall on your clothes, the clothes may be damaged. Be careful when you touch the glass vessels, glassware, because we do not know where it is in cold condition or hot condition. For everything, better thing is just by taking the gloves in the hands. With the gloves, if you touch the glass, if it is very hot, nothing will be happen to your fingers or palm. Do slowly and cautiously and carefully when a glass tube or rod inserting in a rubber hole. For example, we have a rubber corks. We may be inserting glass rods or glass tubes. You should not put heavy force. If it breaks, and it may cut your fingers or palm. When you are putting these glass rods and glass tubes, one should be careful and do the things very slowly. This is also. When you handle fuming or volatile liquids, use fuming hoods or fuming chambers. Every lab will have one particular corner. There is a fuming chamber. Fuming chamber means any fumes or any volatile organic liquids, they may go outside with the help of fuming chambers. Without fuming chambers or fuming hoods, you should not open. You have to handle these things with fuming hoods only. Be cautious in testing of odors and liquid big liquid or gases, use your hand, waft vapors above the container towards. For example, we have a bottle like this. You should not put bottle mouth in the bottom of your nose and inhaling. The chemical which enter into your nose will, if it is very pungent, it damages your mouth. Just you put the reagent bottle here and just you shake like this, do like this. Only the vapors coming out of the mouth of the bulb, mouth of the reagent bottle, enter into the nose in a dilute manner. As a result, you can find out the smell, and it may be less intense smell. Next, inform to your instructor immediately in the event of any injury. If something goes wrong or any injury or a burning or something, immediately you inform to your instructor. And next up is dispose the solutions and chemicals as instructions given by the manufacturer of those chemicals and solutions. Don't use solutions, chemicals as you like. Just read the instructions given by the manufacturers, and after that you dispose the chemicals. That is also very important. Now these are all the safety measures we should take in the chemical laboratories when students or teachers working in the laboratories. Okay, thank you. This finishes this session.